This Hangout on Air is now live. I'm excited to be here. This is Kellen Flukiger, the execution mentor. I'm Ephraim Olschewski, some other kind of execution mentor coach who does cool stuff too. I've known Ephraim for a while. It feels like longer than it has. I'm sure we knew each other in some other life. I'm all sweaty this morning because I just finished a workout and mowing the lawn, which has to do with why we're talking about language and giving our word to things today. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. So I'm not quite usually this red, but hey, you know what? I'm red-faced today. Today is part six of a really cool series that we've had on language. No, not French, Italian, German, Danish, Greek, Latin, or other arcane and difficult and complex languages to learn and use. Easy if they're native, hard if you're not, but about language, the language that we use to articulate our existence, our future, our goals, our opportunities, our obstacles, and ultimately our lives. Welcome, Ephraim. Where are you today?
I'm in beautiful San Diego.
Beautiful San Diego. I see a wisp of green over your left shoulder.
Yes, in front of me is the ocean.
In front of you is the ocean.
Over here.
There's a plant. So he's in some hotel room, probably in San Diego.
I'm in San Diego.
All right, so good. Today we're doing part six. Now we have had five other parts on language, which is, how we use it, why it's powerful, why it matters, and all that good stuff. Today, I named part six, how to practice for success. Now, if you're still in the mode of arguing with us about how important it is or that you can be careless with your language, then today is not going to be very interesting for you, because it's going to have to do a lot with discipline and practice and some intentions and decisions you make and things like that. But if you really are stuck there, you need to go back and listen to some of the others and then just think about what you want for your life. I mean, I'm not, and neither is Ephraim, trying to make you do anything different than you want to do, because you're going to do what you want to do anyway. Okay. But if you want to take advantage of the discussion that we've had, and I've had some pretty nice feedback from some people I consider to be intelligent, capable, serious, successful, that have talked about both the value and the benefit that they have personally received from these discussions that we've had. And today's the last one, part 6 of 6. So I encourage you to do that. Today we're going to talk about practicing for the future. So Ephraim, off the top, when I say practicing, what did I say? How to practice for success. Sorry, how to practice for success. What does that say to you?
Well, it'll probably involve a lot of giving your word and not keeping it, and learning what it actually, learning what it actually means to speak powerfully, and getting present to where we, the last 5 parts that we've talked about, getting present to where am I actually, what is my speaking like, and where is there a loss of power in my speaking, and yeah, we could start with that.
I think a leak. So I paint. Some of you know me know that I paint in acrylics, and I have a picture of a dam that I painted, and it was a reservoir and everything else. And there was a little drip of water on the front of the dam, and I named the picture The Leak. And all kinds of metaphorical things that you can go into, and we won't. But what you just said, Ephraim, strikes me, and so I do want to start there. Leak. Where are we leaking power with language?
Yeah, it's really the foundation. The foundation for speaking powerfully and honoring your word is the foundation for having a great life.
So let's just start with the simplest thing. Speaking powerfully and honoring your word. That means say what you mean what you say, and do it when you say you'll do it. Now, that sounds simple, but it is really the foundation of the word integrity that we've used so much. And it's the foundation of your own peace of conscience and of the trust that other people either do or don't have in you. So the first challenge to practicing for success is to keep a journal of some kind. You can keep it on your phone. You can keep it in your head. I find that the head is a notoriously unreliable place to keep it. We've talked about that in an earlier one as well. But keep track of what you give your word to for a day, or for 2, or even a week. And see how many times you say, I will, I'm gonna, yes, I will, whatever it is, right? And note those somewhere. And then prepare to be blown away by, 1, how many times that happens, and 2, how many times you either forget about, don't think about, and sadly don't honor those verbal commitments. How come that's a leak?
Well, we lose trust with other people, for sure. That's one of the impacts. We lose trust with we lose trust with ourselves. And what you're pointing at is an interesting conversation. You know, I've always thought, imagine what it would be like if it'd be interesting to see, you know, there's these services that transcribe audio into text. And I thought, imagine what it'd be like to record in a day, even just a day, and then having that transcribed and pointing out all the things that you gave your word to, or where there's a loss in power or deletes in our language. I mean, imagine there'd be a lot to look at and a lot to confront and deal with.
It's a terrifying thought, and it's terrifying for me. And quite frankly, I freaking pay attention to it. Every time I open my mouth, I ask myself, and I try to make it like every time, and I'm sure I fail miserably, even though I'm intentional, focused, and trying, and I get a good memory, and I am a pretty focused dude. And I still find that I would be willing to bet that I would be shocked at the reality, let's just put it that way. So, Ephraim, I want you to just reflect on, let's say that you could do that, and you could record it for an hour. And even if you didn't record every piece of conversation, so you had all the other embarrassing things to deal with, just every single commitment that you make, implied or specific, that you make, what would happen? Just this blue sky, what would happen to somebody who kept every commitment just for a day?
Wow. I think it's hard for us to imagine what that would be like.
Right.
And
Okay.
Even for a day, that's great. You know, what would it be like with the days compounding on top of each other? Because I bet most of us we'd be real careful what we'd give our word to. So that's the trap of that, is we think, well, you know, I'll just be like if I just play a smaller game, and that's not the language we put it in, but if I just play a smaller game and make smaller commitments, then it'll be easier for me to keep those commitments. And so that's the trap of that. The point is that you're playing a big game, you're making big commitments, bold commitments, and then finding a way to keep them or to honor them. What would that be like? I mean, it would be an extraordinary life, no doubt.
So let's just go down that road for a sec. The way that you learn to keep commitments is to start small. Mm-hmm. And so and Ephraim isn't either saying don't make small commitments and learn to keep them. If you're a liar, like most folks, and we'll just call it like it is, if you lie your face off, like most people do, most of the time, perhaps unintentionally, perhaps to make people feel good, perhaps to hide from yourself, perhaps to play a small game, who cares why? The result is you play a small game, you do not trust yourself, others don't trust you, and you certainly don't become what you could become. So those are simple facts. The interesting thing is, if you want to learn how to do it and practice for success, which is the name of today's episode, be intentional about thinking about it. So if you have to start small and say, I'm going to actually pay attention just today. And so the game for me today is to keep track of everything that I say that feels like I'm making a promise, implied or stated, mm-hmm. and to do them. And if that means I go, yeah, maybe I don't want to say that, that's okay for that day. Because what that means is that you at least thought about it. And you said, holy crap, in normal life, I would have said, without even thinking about it. And today I'm at least thinking about it and going, yeah, maybe I don't want to say that. Okay, good. And then when you get that piece mastered, if it takes a day or two, I'm not suggesting doing that for a month, then you start to ask the real questions about who am I and what do I really want to be? Not some shriveled up ghost of what I could be because I'm afraid of my words, but the fully blossomed, fully developed, powerful person that makes the kind of difference you could make. Now, Ephraim, when you have gone personally through this journey of exploring keeping your word, talk to me about some of the stages you went through to practice for success, to become aware of what you gave your word to, and to create the kind of significance with those statements that you wanted it to have for you, that gave you the internal commitment to start keeping in more accurately, diligently, fairly, honestly, whatever the right words are you want to use. Want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I hired my first coach around a little over 8 years ago. And one of the first conversations that we had was some work that from Gay and Katie Hendricks. And I remember I had this this PDF that I had printed out. It was called The 4 Pillars of Integrity, and it was like all these different steps of how to like being aware of what I'm giving my word to, all these different things. And I remember I had that this was a number of years ago, and I had it on my fridge and on my bathroom mirror and in my car, and it was like everywhere to keep me really present to what was I actually, what commitments was I making. And it's really a journey. It's not so that, I've been having this conversation, and I know you as well, Kellen, for a number of years, and I've had coaches and I've been coached around quite a bit. And I'm not sitting here today telling you, oh, I have integrity, because integrity isn't a thing that you can have. It's something you can be committed to, but it's not actually something that you have. And if you think you have integrity, then you're fooling yourself. And no one has integrity. It just isn't. No one has integrity. That's the bottom line. So realizing that there's no getting to the destination of having integrity. It's something that you're committed to. And then the thing that really stands out to me about that is that as long as this is about what's right and wrong and what you should and shouldn't do, there'll be no power there. It's just got to be that I'm being the way that I'm being because that's the way that I'm being, and I'm committed to being that way. And it's not the way that I should be, or it's not the right way to be. And there's nothing right about it, nothing wrong about it. And I'm not saying there's not right and wrong. That's up for each person. I mean, that's my point is that integrity can't be about, and making and keeping commitments can't be about what you should do, and it can't be about what's right or about looking good and things like that. I think a person will go through this roller coaster of all these different experiences, and you really have to discover for yourself what works for you.
So I'm going to talk about this a little bit, because Ephraim has made a distinction here that I want to massage a little bit, or massage may be the wrong word. I just want to talk about a little bit more. People view, every one of us views right, wrong, good, bad, however you view it, culturally, religiously, personally, your own experiences. You choose to view things the way you view them. And you and I, we behave according to those interpretations and thoughts. That's just what we do. We do it consciously, we do it unconsciously, we just do that. We make judgments about others even when we tell ourselves not to. We make judgments about situations. We do all that, and that's the reason we don't have integrity. Because the minute we say we're less things, like saying we're perfect, we're complete, we're full, and then we're full, what we're full of is crap at that point. So what we want to understand is there is such a thing as right and wrong. I'm not going to even pretend to embark on a discussion about where those lines and boundaries are for you, for me, or for anybody, because that would be an argument that would last a lot longer than a 30-minute hangout. But what I am saying is having integrity is about, and keeping your word and using language. And we default back to integrity a lot because it is doing what you say you'll do, which is language. When you say you'll do it, and it's the foundation for that. But I want to end with this, the part about integrity, and move on to the actual power of the language, which only has power when it is integrity. I get that. It is, if you say things to yourself and you don't do them, you have no power. If you say things to others and don't do them, you have no power. Your ability to create, be real, be expansive, and be useful is limited. And so without worrying about whether things are right or wrong, or it's good or bad, or you should or shouldn't, you need to pay attention to your language. If you choose to be a person who says things and doesn't do them, that's okay. You won't be very functional and you won't be very trustworthy, because everyone will know that. I spent a lot of my life doing what I, quote, should do, and ended up in a 30-year battle with depression and having monumental roller coaster rides that made national news. I mean, that size of things, okay? Because I was too worried about should. So Ephraim's point about that is key. And that's a long whole, maybe we'll have a whole series of hangouts on that another time. But right now, let's just let that go and talk about the 3 points that we wanted to talk about today in our remaining 13, 15 minutes. And is that okay, Ephraim? You want to add anything to that?
Yeah, it's what you said is absolutely the case, is that you can learn how to use language in a way that you can sound great and you can say all the right things. And if there isn't integrity in your speaking, none of that matters. It won't make any difference. So yeah, so I come back to integrity a lot because it really is the foundation. And yeah, it's really great. So thank you for that.
Okay, so here are the 3 things I want to visit about today briefly. Number 1 is understanding a future place. And this final hangout, the reason I'm really going to cover these 3 things is I want you to take something away from this series. And if you're now watching 6 and you haven't watched the others, go watch them. It's going to be worth your time, I promise. But I want to take this last part to give you something that you can take and use. And so the first piece is understanding a future place. A future place. We are all focused on the present because the present is only the moment that we have. But at the same time, we make plans, we have desires, and we have dreams, visions, declarations about a future that we intend to live into. So when I wrote understanding a future place, I simply meant this, and I'm going to say this, and Ephraim, I just want you to also think out loud about it. It is intentionally creating a future state with declarative or positive declaration language that describes who, what, and how you are in the future. And then using the beauty of that vision as an anchor to pull forward. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's the one of the distinctions is that if you look at what gives you who you're being right now, if I was to go around and we asked 100 people, if we went down on the street and we asked 100 people and I said, why are you the way that you are right now? And first of all, people relate to themselves like they are a particular way and they're not. And that's another conversation. And then second of all, is that if we were to ask them, why are you the way that you are right now? They would give me an answer about something to do with the past. And we don't have time to go into this. And I'll assert that the way that you are has nothing to do with the past. In other words, what's giving you who you're being has nothing to do with the past. It has to do with the future that you're living into. If I'm living into a future with scarcity and lack, I'm being a particular way right now. If I'm living into a future where there's abundance and happiness, then I'm being a particular way right now. And so it's the future. There's this power in creating a future and living into that future gives me who I'm being right now. That's the point of creating a future to live into, is that it gives me who I'm being right now. Not to actually produce the outcome of that future. That may happen, but it gives me who I'm being right now.
So I just want to thank you. That's very, very well said. And think about it. If you have an expectation of something fun this afternoon, you're bouncy, you're happy, you're excited. And so the expectation of that fun thing this afternoon, that cool, whatever it is, you're going to get a phone call that's a good deal, a good business deal, or you're going to go somewhere with someone you love, or you're going to go do something fun. You're feeling today, right now, this minute, this morning, bouncy, cool, looking forward in anticipation. And so that anticipated future is what that is. And we've talked before, and don't really have time to go over it again other than to state it. intentionally creating with language a future of abundance, of love, of prosperity. I think Gay Hendricks, abundance, success, and love, right? Okay, so if you think about that, and that is the declaration of your future, then it gives you both the opportunity, the tools, and the power. The opportunity, the tools, and power to live your present in a way that moves to that future. Okay? All right, the second thing is creating commitment. Now, creating commitment, we've talked about every time we open our mouths, almost, we're creating some kind of a commitment. We may or may not intend to, honor it, but we create that. That isn't even what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about using language intentionally to create a commitment that we want to, or are committed to, or desire to live into. So, Ephraim, talk for a sec about creating. What do you do to create a commitment for the day, the week, the month that is a thing that draws you forward? How do you go about creating that kind of commitment with your language?
So every person on here really gets to read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill. If you've read it, you know why I'm saying that. And if you haven't read it and you read it, you'll know why I'm saying that. So Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill, he talks about definitive purpose. So Kellen, in the language that I was trained in, it's being up to something bigger than yourself. And when I'm up to something bigger than myself, like I have a vision for my life, it's really simple. Waking up in the morning, I'm not tired waking up in the morning when I'm up to something. When there's something bigger than me that I'm up to, then it's very simple. So getting clear about, what is it that my life, and I know you talk about this a lot, what is my life for? And getting clear about that. And as I've had the opportunity to talk with a lot of people around that conversation, it's like they're waiting for, they're waiting for a vision to discover what their life is for. And it doesn't exist. So if you're going, I'd love to know what my life's for. Well, yeah, you get to invent that. You get to create that. What is your life for? Create that. And if you don't have that certainty, like this is what it is right now, make something up and live that for a while. Just be up to something. It's not like, you don't need there's nothing out there that's going to say this is what your life is for. It's invented, it's created. This is what my life's for. And that could always change. My life could be for something right now and for something else in 5 minutes. But being up to something and having a vision bigger than myself, that gives me absolute clarity on what I'm up to today, this week, this month, this year, this life.
So I want to riff on that for just a second. Thank you. And it is not fickle to be up to something now and up to something different in 5 minutes. If you're up to something now, I'm going to climb to the top of this hill, and you get partway to the top of this hill, and then all of a sudden you catch the vision of a different hill, and you thought, oh, that was the one I meant. Okay, cool. It would be really stupid to keep climbing to the top of this hill just because that was what your vision was about 5 minutes ago, when now you realize what you meant to do was over there. So that's a perfectly okay thing to do, to be up to something bigger than yourself now, and then realize that you want to change it in 5 minutes because you're up to something better, and you get to define better. And the other thing I wanted to riff on for a sec is what you said about invent it. So many people, you know this, I do this, hear this all the time. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know what I want to be. I can't, I'm waiting to find that purpose. I would love to find my true purpose. It's like, oh, for crying out loud, just make something up.
Yeah.
Just be something today. Try it on like a pair of pants or a shirt and feel how it feels to be up to that, like big time. And I agree with you. The other morning, I just got back last night from Alberta, and those of you that follow me know we just opened a second office, a beautiful place up there. And Ephraim, when you come, Ephraim, when you come to our event in the 31st of August, 1st and 2nd of September that you said you wanted to come to, it'll be up there. We're going to hold it up there in Edmonton. It's a beautiful place, and it'll be gorgeous at the end of summer up there at that time. So I was thinking about you as I made this video. But as I was standing there in the backyard, I made a video yesterday, and I was thinking about 3 people that I talked to in the last little while that are up to something. One of them is up to saving the economy of a whole country. Now, I have no idea if he'll be able to do that or not. But the fact that he was thinking about that and talking about that was just the coolest thing. Another person was up to some huge environmental thing that's going to empty landfills of all the ash and inorganic waste, like completely shrink. And another person was up to getting rid of all of the stacks of rubber tires that we have. And these people weren't just dreaming. Technologies have been invented. There's patents already issued. Stuff's happening. And one of them's been up to this for years. And he's been a client for a long time. And so I've been with him through the struggles and the finding investors and the pain and the blah, 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 blah. And I was just thinking about these three people, and they're up to something. And I'm up to something. And it gives me the kind of energy that I'm famous for, that I can't contain, and that people know who are around me, because I'm up to something. And so when Ephraim said that, I just wanted to say so loudly, that is so important. Be up to something, and if you don't know what it is, make it up.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Ephraim, what are you up to?
My commitment, and I want to say, and I know we're like getting right at our time, I want to say about what you're saying about being up to something, is that it has nothing to do with what anybody else is up to. And it's not like going, well, if I'm up to this, but look, I mean, people are like, saving the world or whatever. That's fine. That's what they're up to. That has nothing to do with what anyone else is up to. And, Calvin, my commitment is in my life, I'm committed that, well, I want to say that one of my mentors, who I've learned a tremendous amount from, they made a commitment in the 80s to that every person in the world would be fed. There'd be no more hunger. And that hasn't happened yet. And they're still committed to that today. It's called the Hunger Project. And that's still been happening. That's still happening today. They're still committed to that. And they made an impossible promise. And they're still working on delivering that. So my commitment is, in my work that I get to do and in my work life, it's about transforming individuals and organizations and helping them get more powerful results in their business and their personal lives. And that's what I'm up to in my business. And there's all kinds of different areas that I'm up to all kinds of different things.
That's fantastic. Okay, and my up-to-ness is much the same. I am totally committed. The way I say it is helping people do things they don't believe they can do with tools they don't know they have and power they don't know they control. And so that's the cool way that I say that. And I say cool because every time I say that to somebody, they go, wow, that's cool. So then it has become the cool way that I say that, right? And that's what I'm up to. And it came out of being up to that for myself first, of learning to create a future that makes me so excited that it's an experience to be around me and to work in that area, because the excitement and energy is contagious. And I felt the same way about Ephraim, and I'm approaching the last of our 6 Hangouts, and I'm sure that you'll see him again here sometime in the future, just because. But I want to say the last piece is on finding accountability. So someone that created an up-to-ness in 80-something to end hunger, or someone that's going to empty landfills, or someone that's going to try to save the economy of a country, or someone that's simply going to try to fix a relationship that's badly broken, or someone that's going to try to create some wealth where there's poverty, or to alleviate some suffering, or just make themselves better, or whatever size the up-to-ness is. We all need something called accountability. And we find part of that in ourselves by learning integrity and being committed to integrity. We also find it powerfully in a coach, an external eye and an external view that will refresh our words of accountability, that will refresh our words of commitment, that will give us perspective and power that we didn't have otherwise, because we tend to excuse ourselves for the simplest and silliest of reasons. And so I want to echo something Ephraim said last week, which is, if you are up to making yourself better, up to creating a new version of yourself that's more serviceable, more powerful, more productive, happier, better, however you define that, take the opportunity to get an external view, get a coach, I call it break the cage now. But it's about creating in your mind with your language, with your commitment and your choices. 1, a better place to be, and 2, a commitment to get there, and 3, the accountability structure that will help you get there faster. Ephraim, you want to talk for a little bit about that?
Get a coach. I'm just, as you're sharing, Kellen, I'm so, and I want to acknowledge that we're a minute past our time, and I'm going to say this anyway. And if you planned us right until 9:30 Pacific, then you'll have to catch the end when it's on YouTube. But it's, I'm thinking about the profound difference that coaching has made in my life. And I can tell you as a fact that I would not be sitting here having this conversation with you had it not been for the extraordinary coaches that I've gotten to work with. And I see it every day. I get to have 10 or 12 hours a day of coaching calls. And I see the difference that real coaching makes in a person's life. And there's just no experience like it. It's just, you know, in real coaching, I tell people when you work with me, it's an experience that you just never get over. And that's what I'm committed to people experiencing. And I know that's your commitment as well. So get a coach, you know, get committed to your life, get a coach. It makes a profound difference. It really does.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I absolutely echo the urgency to get that. And, you know, you get one. I don't care who it is.
Yeah.
Get one that will do real coaching. Because Ephraim's comment about having it be an experience you never get over is true. And if it isn't that way, then either you weren't ready or they weren't coaching you well. And I'm not judging either one of those things. Anyway, thank you for being with us for these 6 sessions on language. Pay attention to your language. Get rid of your loose lips. Intentionally create your future. Live into it. Create the power that you want to by having or being committed to moving in a direction of integrity. More every day, more every time you open your mouth. Create the beautiful future. Live into it and enjoy the excitement and power that comes from holding that vision. And to help you fastest along the way, get a coach. If you're interested in talking to me or Ephraim, www.breakthecagenow.com. Let me know. Send me a private message on Facebook, whatever. There's a million ways to get a hold of me, so everybody knows that. People have called me on my phone, and I don't even know how they got my phone number. So they wanted to get a hold of me bad enough to figure out how to get my phone number, and they did it. Okay, so you can do that, right? Coach Kellen Flukiger at Gmail is another one, but there's a billion ways. So you can do it if you want to. Thank you all for being part of this experience for the last 6 weeks. Ephraim S. Olschewski, thank you for consenting to be here from Wisconsin and from the moon and from wherever we were, and will be in the future.
Thank you so much, Kellen.
All right. Thanks, folks. We will talk to you later.